Hello, everybody. Happy 2026. This is my first conscious conversation of the new year. And I'm excited to talk about something that is important and where some of us are starting to think about. We're going to start talking about education. And I'm going to call this one the evolution of education. Please, while you're here, go ahead and subscribe if you're on the YouTube channel or follow if you're on Up Your Brave on Facebook. That would be amazing. So the conscious conversations are slightly different. It's more of a dialogue, not so much an interview. And today I'm so happy to be talking to Karen Tui Boyes. Hello, Karen.
Kia ora. Happy New Year.
Hello in Wellington. How are things over there?
Oh, we've had stunning weather in the last 2 days, so
I'm happy for you.
great.
You take what you can get over in
We
Wellington.
do, we do.
That's good.
Yes.
Now, I was going to intro you as saying that you're from Spectrum Education Academy. Is that the right terminology?
Spectrum Online Academy.
Okay. So today we're talking about the evolution of education, and specifically because I know that what you do is online education. And I think this is a great topic to talk about. So my first opening thing I want to talk about is why are people choosing differently when it comes to education? Are you seeing that people are choosing differently? And if so, why?
Yeah, absolutely. People are starting to understand that the education system is not fit for purpose. Well, actually, that's not true. It is fit for a different world. The education system, the traditional education system, was designed in the 1800s, fit for the time, but it's not fit for purpose now. So I think people are starting to realize that the education system isn't broken as such. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, to create employees, to be able to create people who do not think, who have a job, do as they're told, and work in a factory. That's what it was designed for. So I'm definitely seeing people starting to wake up and say, hey, this is not what we want for our kids. We want our kids to be independent thinkers. We want them to challenge the status quo. We want them to think critically. We want them to make a difference in the world. And we also know that around about 40% of our 5-year-olds going into school this year will have to be self-employed to have any kind of job. So what that means, you and I know, being self-employed, no one tells you what time to turn up. No one tells you what to do. You have to do everything yourself. And so it's actually the complete opposite of the education system.
I literally was talking about this yesterday. I was meeting up with Mark Mandino, and he was a previous guest on Reality Check Radio. We were talking, he comes from the world like I do of outdoor education. And we were talking about AI and all that. And I was like, I think now more than ever going forward with the whole AI thing, adaptability is like the key trait, the key strength that I think kids going forward need to have. And like you're saying, even the ones going into school now, exactly. It's not so much do what you're told, it's be creative, be adaptable so you can adapt to the changing environment. And I think also for him and I with the outdoor thing, it was like outdoor education becoming more important than before because giving people real experiences in real time, which you can't really get from AI. AI can help you with a whole ton of stuff, but not that.
Absolutely. So school is that one size fits all, and we are seeing, particularly in New Zealand right now, that the government is mandating that an hour of maths, an hour of reading, an hour of writing, which most schools were doing anyway. But what they're doing to ensure that happens is taking away those experiences, taking away the outdoor ed, taking away the PE, taking away the arts, which is actually where our
Mm.
language comes from. It's where our creativity comes from. And so people are seeing this overemphasis of content memorization and that it's all about passing the test. But actually, that doesn't ensure that our children are ready for life. So, as you say, those extra curricula, those other subjects that aren't our traditional subjects actually help to get our kids ready for the world.
I think it really sadly is still that remember and regurgitate what you've been told and taught even if you have alternate views, it's like, how am I going to get the marks? I'm going to get the marks by saying this. And we don't really want parrots going forward. I feel like the school system has not yet caught up with where humanity is heading.
I would absolutely agree. It doesn't reflect what the world is now, and particularly, as you say, with the AI, and particularly with the change in how the world is, and this, as I said, the being self-employed. We are still in a factory system, and our kids are having to memorize now. They don't need to memorize things anymore. They have Google, they have AI, they have information at their fingertips, which of course in the 1800s and the early 1900s we did not have. So it's really important that the education system keeps up and prepares our kids for this world, not for the 1970s.
So, with that being said, are you seeing more people kind of exploring the concept of schooling from home, whatever that means, whether that's the parent or whether that's an organization like you're doing? Have you seen a rise in that, or inquiries, or people actually considering it, whereas before they would never have thought of that?
Absolutely. There is more and more. I think probably about a 50 to 60% increase in people actually doing online schooling. Our school actually grew 50% last year. So it's and this year it looks like it'll almost double. So yes, people are looking for alternatives and saying, how can we have a personalized curriculum? How can we have project-based learning that integrates everything together? We're not learning in silos. We're not doing English, then maths, then science, and with no connections.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that our kids are having that holistic education and learning what we call the executive functions, learning about planning, learning about the idea of how do you get started with an activity, the whole executive functions that are so important, persisting when it's hard. There's so many of them.
I think you're right about that project-based learning, because I think that's more real world. So I think it's more applicable than like, okay, we're doing this, now we're totally changing gears, and now we're doing that. So yes, what are they struggling with the most? Like, what is the main complaint or reason that a kid would say, actually, you know what, I'm going to move from my current schooling, or I go in physically to the school, and I'm going to shift to an online option?
I think that there's several different things. We've got a huge rise in mental health challenges for our students. I've just read the book. I don't know if you've read this, Natalie, The Anxious Generation.
No.
Fascinating book talking about front-facing phones in 2010, 2012 has been really the cause of so much of the mental health challenges for our children. So there's a lot of the mental health challenges.
I've never heard that term before. Front-facing phones. Do you mean as opposed to what we had?
Yeah, so that you can see yourself on the screen, So, and you are now comparing with social media yourself to everybody else. Because before we just had those flip phones,
yeah,
right, as you're saying, and you didn't see yourself, and you didn't see everybody else, and you didn't compare your life to someone's Pinterest perfect life that they only put online and don't show all the other stuff that's going on, right? So yes, so I think they're struggling with contextualization. It's like, why am I learning this is a number one question kids are asking. They are feeling like it's been done to them rather than that they can actually have a choice and a voice in their education. There's so many things that our kids are struggling with that is making it challenging and hard for them to be able to learn.
So, for those that are watching, comment below. We would love to know your own experience with this in terms of your kids, or maybe yourself. Like, were there things that you were like, I wish they had these options when I was growing up? But also, yeah, what are the reasons that some kids, people that are doing homeschooling or online learning, what was the thing that made you take that jump, take that leap? I think
I don't,
nowadays it's great that there's other options, because I would have been the mom that, like, I probably wouldn't be a great teacher at home, but I love, I love the idea of having someone who is a teacher and they're learning online. But my child, if they're not loving school or if it's a mental health thing, that they have that as an option. So
yeah,
yeah,
so
comment below if you're watching. We'd love to see your comments or questions, because we can come back later and Karen can answer them and I can
yeah,
chime in.
absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah, so we've got students at Spectrum Online Academy who have mental health issues. We've got students who are extremely bright and well above their age level, but our New Zealand curriculum says they must be working at their age level, whether they are lower or higher. They have to work at their age level. So that's challenging when you've got a group of 30 students in your classroom. And so often our particularly bright, talented students are called lazy or difficult because they become behaviour problems. We have students who or parents who are freedom fighters and just go, we don't want this government curriculum. There are certain things that the government is teaching in our schools, mandated that they must be taught, that parents are like, actually, we don't want that for our children. We have parents who just go, our child isn't happy where they are. Let's go and do this online learning. And as you said, what we do is we actually provide the curriculum. We do all the teaching, and the kids are only online maximum 90 minutes a day. And then they can do their own, well, they can do their homework, which is where they learn about their self-directed learning strategies. And we do a one-on-one coaching with them to teach them these things, teach them how to learn, which isn't being taught in the school system. And then we allow these kids to be able to have the freedom to do what they want in the afternoon, maybe go for a bike ride, maybe go to the beach, to the library, to do a gym class, a dance class, whatever it is they want. So,
and do they check in with that? Like, do they kind of not report back, but with, in terms of how they spent that discretionary time?
that's not for us. We give them their curriculum, and the parent is in charge of what happens after that. So, yeah, the
I
homeschooling bit.
imagine there's also kids that there's just not a school that suits them, like in their, so there's geography that comes into it. Maybe they live in a place that's gorgeous and beautiful, but it's far away from any high school. So they have no option unless they want to sit on a bus for an hour. So you must get some of that.
We've got some students like that too. In fact, one mother said, we save so much money from petrol, not having to take our child from school and back again every day. And he just logs on in the morning, does his work, then goes off on the farm for the rest of the day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Now you've got this phrase that you mentioned to me, learning science. What is that about and how does that show up?
Well, what the science of learning tells us, and be careful, there is not one science of learning, there are many sciences of learning. What it tells us is that motivation for our kids, first of all, comes from autonomy, having choice in what they do, which doesn't happen in necessarily a traditional school. It comes from relevance, and it comes from mastery. So being able to master something rather than just spend 2 weeks on it and then move on. We do deep dives into curriculum so kids can really master it. In fact, we often give them a persona. We say, you are going to be a toy engineer. And then they're learning all the physics about how toys work. And then in the end, they actually make a toy. So that they feel like this is how this is used in the real world. So there's the relevance there. Deep learning requires curiosity, kids being able to ask questions and explore what they're really interested in. It requires great feedback. And when we work one-on-one or small group, we can give really good feedback to our students. And it also requires that reflection. So our students write their own school reports. So they actually have the questions and they have to stop and reflect and go, this is what I've learned. This is what I can do now. This is where my next steps are. So that time to think is really important that we give them, and time to apply and reflect and have that individual pacing for our kids. And that's all about the science of learning that says that that's what students need.
I'm curious about the curriculum because, you mentioned earlier, some parents are thinking, oh, I don't want my child learning that stuff. And maybe that's the RSE, the relationship sexual ed, or it could be a variety of things. Um, and I know they're going back to the classics like math and reading and writing and stuff. They are changing some of those things within the traditional school system. But internationally, like how do you guys decide what to teach? Is it still obviously within the New Zealand curriculum, or do you have certain freedom to dip into other international tools and
We have freedom to dip into anything we want, but we do base what we do loosely around the New Zealand curriculum. So we make sure around English or literacy, maths, and science that our students have covered what they would generally cover in a traditional school. But again, we cover it in a different way. So we're project-based learning, and they're applying what they know to get to that mastery level.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like some of these days, right, the whole university pathway isn't as well trudged. Things are changing, perceptions of things. Not everyone goes to uni, but for those that do, I feel like those are things you do at university, which is great, right? You try to think outside the box, I think, hopefully more, and critical thinking. And so if they can learn that a bit earlier, then that's got to be
I
helpful.
think when they get to university, if they haven't already had those skills of thinking outside the box and critical thinking, if they have been used to just ticking the boxes and doing what they're told, actually university becomes a harder place for them to be able to learn those skills because
Mm.
they're already entrenched in just doing what they're told. And there's great examples of some of New Zealand's top entrepreneurs who dropped out of university because they realized that what they were going to learn wasn't actually going to help them in their future. So I think the earlier definitely our students learn those skills, the better.
Yeah, so interesting. All right. Well, before we wrap things up, anything else you want to add, and how can people get in touch?
Hmm. Okay. I think the future of education is multiple pathways, and I think it's about looking at different ways we can provide that education, and particularly from our lockdown days, those kids who loved lockdown learning were thrown back into traditional classrooms and don't love it.
Yeah.
So that's what really spurred us on to start Spectrum Online Academy. So you can get hold of us at spectrumeducation.com. So that's our umbrella uh, uh, business, I guess, or
Website.
structure website. Spectrum. Okay, let me try that again. Spectrumeducation.com, and there you will find all the information about Spectrum Online Academy.
Okay, I will put the link below. And, depending on when you guys are watching this, right now we're like early 2026, so we're in January. You could be watching this anytime. But personally, in my experience, so I started off as a parenting author. I have a lot of love and compassion for parenting. And then now I've got 3 teenagers. So I've kind of gone through the journey. And I can definitely say that if your child is not happy in the school that they're in, then definitely be open to making a change. Like we did that with one of ours in year 11, like so change schooling year 11, which is a big move, but it was amazing. So I guess I'm really saying, this is really a time to tap more and more into your intuition, to also appreciate different schools and different styles of learning for different kids. So whether it be even in the same family, you might have one that does online learning and 2 other ones that go off to school, and everyone's happy, right? Rather than expecting everyone to do the online learning or everyone to go off to school. So I feel like that's really great to give. I just want to give parents, that like, just follow your intuition, look at the options that are out there. Maybe you're looking for 2026, maybe you're thinking for the year ahead. Karen, do people actually join like mid-year, or is it more of
Mhm. We have
like a February situation?
no, we have students join all through the year. And can I just say one more thing that I forgot to say? 3 of our students over the last 2 years have actually developed businesses that they now, when they've finished school, 2 of them have finished school now, are actually going to continue to do their businesses. And they've developed that through us, with us, and the coaching, which is just amazing. So they've created their own life pathway, and that doesn't really happen in a traditional school as well.
Oh, I love that. I just had this idea. My son and I the other day were talking. He's got one more year left of school. My other one's at uni. So this guy, he's got one more year. He wants to travel the world and various things. And we were talking about how he could work on the cruise ship. And I was like, I could work on a cruise ship because I work with the elderly and I love organizing programs. And then I was like, and even Xavier could work on the cruise ship, in the kitchen. So, but literally, I could, my little guy who's not so little, 14, he could easily do online learning while me and the other guy are on the cruise ship. So it actually opens up options, I think, for parents and parents that have a bit of freedom and flexibility. And it's like, how can I also continue with my kids' schooling while also living our life in alignment with what we dream and desire to do? And I feel like that is also something that you guys help with.
Yeah, we've got a student who lives on a yacht or a boat, and their parents sail around, and we're always like, "Where in the world are you today?" Which is just wonderful because he's online maybe again 90 minutes maximum,
Yeah.
often only 45 minutes, and then he's got the whole day to do his work and to
Go swimming.
go swimming and do what he loves. Yeah, and he's on a boat.
So good. Awesome. Comment below, you guys. What would you do if your kid was doing online learning? What would you love to do? And I had some questions. Get in touch with Karen. I'll put the links below. And yes, happy 2026. I think it is a great time to reimagine what your life might look like. And so today we're focusing on schooling, but obviously you can do that in all sorts of areas of your life. Please go and check out upyourbrave.com. What do I say these days? Mentoring, motivation, and matchmaking. So there you go. Check that out. And you can follow us on Instagram as well. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
See ya.